everybody. My name is David Carter. I'm the Director of Education and Outreach for Charleston Jazz. And we're here today with a great friend of mine, actually, one of my best friends, Mr. David Richardson. Thank you for joining us today, David Richardson.
Love to being here with you.
So, Professor Richardson uh, has an extensive history of being a wonderful educator in both the classroom and in the community. And so, without further ado, we're going to go ahead and just jump in. Mr. Richardson, tell us a little bit about your musical background, where you came from, what you're doing now. Just tell us.
Okay, so I am from Hugie, South Carolina, the Hugie-Cainhoy area. My musical training started, I guess, early on in elementary music education. Mary Basquini was my first music teacher. She also happened to teach me in high school, but I'll get to that in a minute. So I developed a love of music really from my elementary music teacher. So I think that's why I'm such a believer in music education in the early childhood stage. And so I started taking piano lessons at 7 with a lady by the name of Helena Manigault out of Mount Pleasant. Um, is still playing today in Summerville, actually. And she was um, a very um, interesting and fun teacher. She made music theory and sight singing and ear training, although I didn't know why I was doing those things in piano lessons, relevant even when I was a boy. Um, so I studied with her for a while, and then in middle school, I started playing trombone. My band director at the time was Steve Kimball in 6th grade, and he knew that I played piano, so he said, "I'm gonna put you on trombone." So um, that was easy because my brother played trombone as well in band. So I just kind of inherited his trombone and started my band life. Um, and I was also in middle school chorus uh, as well. So then I went up to high school and still did both. I still love band and choir. And I was not in band my 9th grade year in high school, but I was in music theory with Katie Vaught. And so I kind of got recruited to the band
Mhm.
through music theory, and she knew I could play piano, so she taught me tuba. I remember going to the band room and she taught me my B flat concert scale in like a sitting. And the next thing I knew, the next day I was playing with the band. Um, and it was really interesting because I was the only tuba player at the time. So it was a very interesting experience, but an experience that I really reflect on a lot in my
Mhm.
adult life because, um, you know, having the musical knowledge and the foundation there really helped me be successful in high school band, where I really didn't plan on being um, the only tuba player or learning an instrument in one
Right.
sitting. But, um, so I was in band and choir all through high school at Hanahan High School, um, which was a blessing because it was a smaller school. I was able to do not only play in the concert band, but I was the pianist for the jazz band. I played for the choir and I played for soloists. And I also sang in the choir a good bit, although after my high school choral director, Mary Basquini, discovered that I could play piano, she started asking me to accompany. So um, that would really shape my professional career. I then went to Charleston Southern University and um, studied with Dr. Valerie Bullock, choral conducting with her, and voice performance with Jennifer Lucan. Um, my piano studies were with Eugene Coster, and I also took organ with Karen Abersher, who was my middle school choral director. So
Lots of
I had
influences.
lots of lots of influences over the years, and so I matriculated through this CSU program, and I did band with Sid Hayton. God bless his soul.
Hmm.
He was an incredible soul that I think I was destined to meet because he was a lot like me. He could do it all. He could play. He could get up and rehearse a band like you wouldn't believe. He could arrange and compose. Um, Very talented man. And so, after a while, I didn't really have a life. So I had to choose. I had to choose an emphasis because, I believe that as a musician, that you need to try to have some balance. And Sid Hayton was actually the guy that told me, he said, "Hey, I know you can do both, but hey, focus on your voice stuff for right now because I see that you're really stressed out and I don't want you to be that way. I don't want you to get burned out." So I did that. Um, and I went on numerous uh, trips abroad with Valerie Bullock, Dr. Valerie Bullock, who was at the time, the director of choral activities and the chair of the Horton School of Music, um, who continues to be a mentor to me today and like a mother figure. Um, I was surrounded by a lot of great people at CSU. Um, I probably could have gone to a bigger school, but I felt like I got so much from CSU in my time there. So uh, matriculated through the music ed program. Uh, and then my first teaching job was at Cross Elementary School, and that's where I started my journey as a music educator.
Hmm.
And so I taught there from December to June, and that was in the year of 2008 when things were kind of rocky with the economy. So they can guarantee me a job for the next year. So then I interviewed in Dorchester School District 2 and got the job as Director of Choral Activities at Fort Dorchester High School. And I stayed there for 6 years and then went to Rawlings Middle School of the Arts and had a quick tour there. I thought it was going to be longer, but then there was a need at Summerville High School and I jumped on it and here we are. Um, I've loved being at Summerville High School. And in addition to that, I've taught at studios in the area. I've done accompanying, I've done clinics as a clinician and conductor. And that's landed me an adjunct job at the College of Charleston where I work with pre-service teachers. And I absolutely love that. So that's just I tried to um, summarize it as much as I could, but
Well,
I'm
I know
sure.
you do. I know you do a lot of things in the community as well. You started talking about how you're working with a lot of the colleges around here. You work with a lot of pre-service teachers. What about the church scene? I know that you've been
Yeah,
involved in that. Can you tell us a little bit about your experiences there?
yes. Well, I grew up in a very um, musical church. I grew up in the United Methodist Church um, in Hugie, South Carolina, and we had an incredible organist by the name of Ted Pinkney. Um, Ted Pinkney was unique because he could read music and we did a variety of music. So I was always exposed to a variety. Um, so I think that's why I don't have a problem going between cultural music because all of it seems to live within. So my first job really as a full-time person was at Trinity AME Church. This was in 2004. Trinity AME Church is downtown on the corner of Meeting and Romney Street. And
Mhm.
I went there under a beloved pastor minister, Robert J. Stokes, who had pastored a church in my community in Hugie. He had been the pastor of Charity AME Church right down the road from my church. So we kind of had that connection. And so that started my path in music ministry. So I think I was there 4 or 5 years, and then I went to Peace Presbyterian in Goose Creek, where I was working with Joe Swisher. I was his organist and accompanist for 3 years, and then kind of at the same time, I was asked to take over the reins of the Charleston Spiritual Ensemble. So with that, um, I thought it would be appropriate for me to go to more conducting than accompanying all the time, and it was going to be less time for me. So then I was at Bethany United Methodist Church in Summerville for 3 years as the director of children and youth choirs. I did 1 year of interim working with the adult choir there at Bethany. And then I went to Christ Community Lutheran Church in North Charleston for 3 years with my good friend Sherry Tavis. And I had a great time there. And I'm now at Providence Church on Daniel Island, which is a church I've actually joined and that I love. Um, I replaced Deanna McBroom, who was a longtime
Mhm.
College of Charleston professor and minister of music there.
So talented. Mr. Richardson, you are so talented.
Uh,
You have a lot of gifts, a lot of talents. Uh, can you talk to me a little bit about maybe a tip or a trick or something you would suggest for students as they're developing their musical skills, whether it's in voice or just in general?
I think the thing to think about uh, with the discipline of learning an instrument, whether that be voice, piano, organ, is there has to be some motivation. And I say that because, I started piano when I was 7, and then I quit for a while because I wasn't interested. I don't know if it was at the time where things started getting more difficult. Like I started playing Mozart sonatas, and I was like, "This is not the life," you know.
Hmm. Hmm.
So I would say if you're not intrinsically motivated, I think that there has to be some kind of why. Why am I sitting down at a piano for an hour a day? What are my end goals? Why
Hmm.
do I want to use this? Even if you want to just have your gifts and talents be something that you use for recreation, I think um, it's important to have a why.
Hmm.
And
Why? Right.
I think that spans um, everything in our life. Really, I think it's a life lesson as well.
Learning the
Because
why.
yeah, the why. I mean, if you have the answer to the why, then motivation will come, and you will see that practice and being consistent and all those things that make us great musicians is relevant to what we do.
That's
There,
beautiful.
yeah, has to be a why
Has
there.
to be a why. Mm. Well, tell us, what is your favorite food?
Oh man, my favorite food. That's a hard question, but I would have to say seafood.
Hmm.
I mean, some
A-
good old,
Anything
yeah, some good old
specifically with seafood? Something maybe I can prepare one night, bring you
scallops
over.
and scallops and anything seafood, really. I mean, my family loves blue crabs,
Hmm.
and I'm not always so patient to you have to crack them open and all that, but I love anything seafood, man.
I hear that.
I don't know if it's the Charlestonian in me. I love
Yeah,
anything with the
Hughie
seafood.
might be from the Hughie.
Huge South Carolina, Canehorn boy.
I hear that.
Yeah.
What about if you could, I know we're kind of stuck all in the house right now, but if you could travel anywhere in the world, where would David Richardson go right now?
Mm. I would love to go back to York, England.
Mm,
I went there twice in my college career, and I was actually able to play the York Minster organ a few times,
mm,
um, thanks to English Morris. a good friend of my choral conductor in college. It was such a sacred place. I think, growing up in a very charismatic United Methodist church, and then really being exposed to high church in college, one would think, well, you prefer one over the other. But I found that when I went there and we would sing even songs, I felt God's presence just as much as I feel him on a Kirk Franklin song that we sang
Mm.
growing up, or a good old gospel or a spiritual. So I love that place, and they have the best fish and chips, of course. But I just love the vibe, like the children say, the vibe of the whole place is really cool.
I hear that. Th- You're such a talented musician, and one day hopefully we'll be able to see you maybe play that organ again. You know.
Yes, I hope so. I have my organ shoes ready. I miss playing the organ. I don't get to play organ because I have an organist, the very talented Pamela Brunson, at my church now. But when she's out, I get to
Play a little something.
play a little something, and it's always nice. Organ is a great instrument.
I know a lot of the community members that I talk to, they love church organ. They love organ.
Yes,
And so
yes,
that's good.
something.
Well, Mr. Richardson, we look forward to keeping up with you in your uh, upcoming goals. Hopefully we'll see you soon. We'll see you
Yeah,
soon. Yeah, maybe
sure.
on the stage once everything calms down soon.
I know.
So
It's a waiting game now, and I'm looking forward to more music making when we can.
exactly. I copy those same sentiments. Well, thank you, Mr. Richardson. Everybody else have a great day. Talk to you.